Welcome back to Capsulora's The Future Me series. On this 8th deep dive, we're tackling something pretty big, setting life goals and creating a legacy.
And how time capsules can play a really unique role in that whole process. I've got to say, these sources you found, academic articles, personal development guides, even blog posts, it's going to be fascinating to see what we uncover.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we dive into all the details, let's just take a step back. When we talk about legacy, what do we actually mean? It's not just about buildings named after you, right?
Definitely not. The Helpful Professor article we've got actually defines legacy as, and I'm quoting here, the things you leave behind in this world after you die. And that could be so many things, both tangible and intangible.
So inheritance is one thing, but also the impact of someone, say a teacher who mentored you years ago.
Exactly. And what I thought was really interesting is that the article points out legacy doesn't have to be this massive, huge thing. It can be as simple as family traditions, like having a special dinner every Friday night or passing down a recipe.
I'm thinking about my grandma's apple pie recipe. It's more than just, dessert. It's like this whole sensory experience tied to her memory. But there was one example that really surprised me in the article. Legacy memberships? Did you see that?
Yeah. It's like how some institutions, especially the Ivy Leagues, give preferential admissions to children and grandchildren of alumni. It's basically a built-in advantage passed down.
Which is interesting because it makes you wonder, is it really fair? What kind of legacy are they actually continuing? It's a good reminder that legacy isn't always positive. Sometimes it comes with baggage.
Oh, for sure. It's a complex thing, though it did get me thinking about Capsulora. This community itself could be part of someone's legacy, right?
Wow, that's actually a cool thought. We're building a space for people to share their stories, hopes, fears, the stuff that makes us human. That shared history, it becomes something bigger than any one person.
Exactly. It's almost like we're making this giant collective time capsule, growing with every new member who joins. Speaking of time capsules, let's shift gears a little. How can they help us set and achieve goals? One stat from that Yes Futures article really stuck with me. 41% of young people feel like their goals are just impossible after the pandemic.
Wow, that's pretty disheartening.
Yeah.
But it also shows just how important goal setting is, especially now when so many people are feeling lost.
And that's where time capsules come in. They force you to think ahead, motivate yourself, and that feeling of agency is what we need to actually, go from dreaming to doing.
It's powerful. Writing a goal down, putting it in a time capsule, knowing your future self is going to be there to hold you accountable. It's like a contract with yourself.
Definitely. And it's not always about future stuff either. I was reading about Vic Bowling, the self-care advocate, and he uses time capsules to reflect on the past year. It's like hitting pause and taking stock of what really mattered before you forget.
I kind of do that with photos. Every December, I scroll through all the pictures from the year, and it's amazing what I remember. Little things that felt insignificant at the time, but now they mean so much.
It's about capturing those little feelings, the accomplishments, the tough times, too, because they all make us who we are, right?
Okay, let's get practical. The Atmosphere Press article, the one about writers' time capsules, had some great advice for writing letters to your future self. Anything stand out to you?
One thing that resonated was being specific, even about the mundane, everyday stuff, because those details end up being the most interesting later on. Can you imagine reading about your current worries, what you're excited about, even what you had for breakfast today, years from now?
Yeah. It's like you're capturing your current state of mind, the good, the bad, all of it. And those little details can be surprisingly meaningful later.
Yeah.
Remember when everyone was obsessed with making sourdough starter? Not exactly legacy defining, but definitely time capsule worthy.
For sure. It just paints such a clear picture of where you're at right now. You're basically leaving breadcrumbs for your future self, but instead of bread, it's like anxieties about rent and whatever song you're obsessed with.
Love that. All right, we've got to talk about vision boards. Maybe not writing, but super powerful stuff.
Oh, totally. And there's actually neuroscience behind it. When you visualize your goals, your brain lights up the same way it would if you were experiencing them. It's like giving your brain a sneak peek of the future you want.
So for someone who's struggling to believe in their goals, a vision board could be huge, right? It's one thing to think, I want to travel the world, but seeing those destinations plastered all over your wall, that's different.
It makes it real, attainable, and it's a constant reminder of what you're working towards.
Can't forget about journaling either. It seems like every single source we have mentions how important it is for personal growth. What's the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, achieving goals, Pathways to Success and Fulfillment really emphasizes how powerful journaling is for self-reflection. It's like you're processing your experiences, tracking your progress, seeing patterns that might be holding you back. It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
And their conversations can get pretty deep. It's a safe space to vent, celebrate, and have those aha moments. Speaking of which, the concept of the compound effect from future you. Setting life goals and creating your legacy is a big one. It's about how small, consistent actions can lead to huge results over time.
It's true, like that Aesop fable about the tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race, right? It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results immediately. But the compound effect, it reminds us that all those small efforts do add up over time.
Just like investing a little bit of money regularly, right? Over time, with the interest compounding, you end up with way more than if you just made one big deposit. And what's fascinating is that this applies to so many areas of life, from building wealth to habits to shaping our legacy. We tend to overestimate what we can do quickly, but underestimate what we can achieve in the long run.
Exactly. One tiny change today, and it could snowball into something amazing years from now. What if you just commit to writing one sentence in a journal every single day, or learning one new word in a new language? Imagine the impact over a year, 5 years, a lifetime.
That's a really powerful thought. Have you made any small changes that have had a big impact on your life?
You know, it sounds kind of silly, but making my bed every morning, it was a thing my grandma was always on me about, and I used to just roll my eyes. But I realized that small act of order first thing sets a good tone for the day. It's like this tiny victory, gives me a feeling of control.
I love that. It's a perfect example of how something so simple can change your whole mindset. Okay, let's be real. No matter how disciplined we are with our goals, we're all going to mess up sometimes. How can we reframe those mistakes? The Future You article had some interesting ideas about that.
Yeah, they suggested thinking of mistakes as milestones instead of failures. Like that Thomas Edison quote, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. It's all about perspective.
Totally. It's so easy to beat yourself up when things go wrong. But what if, instead of seeing them as failures, we saw those setbacks as valuable data?
Exactly. Every mistake, it's a chance to learn, adjust, get a little closer to figuring things out. Way more empowering than just focusing on the negative, right?
So instead of dwelling on a missed deadline or a project that flopped, you can ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to do better next time?
It's all about that growth mindset. Challenges, they're stepping stones, not roadblocks.
All right, let's talk about this idea from Future You of a digital memory bank. It's like a super high-tech version of a scrapbook.
It's a really cool concept. Think about it. With smartphones and social media, we're capturing so many moments, but then they just disappear into the digital void. A digital memory bank, it helps you organize those memories, make them accessible.
So instead of scrolling through thousands of photos on your phone, you can create albums, add captions, even put in voice memos or video messages.
Imagine watching a video of yourself from 5 years ago talking about your goals and dreams. It could be so motivating to see how much you've grown and changed.
And it's not just about individual memories either. You could create shared albums with family and friends, document those special events and milestones together. It's like a collective memory bank that can be passed down to future generations.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. Weaving those individual stories together into this rich tapestry of shared experiences.
And we can't forget about bucket lists. That classic tool for setting goals and adding a little excitement to life. Feels like everyone has at least one dream or experience they're dying to check off.
And that's the beauty of bucket lists. They're totally unique to each person. Skydiving, learning a new language, writing that novel you've always dreamed of, it's all fair game.
I love the idea of using Capsulora as a space for people to share their bucket lists and inspire each other. Imagine a forum where members can brainstorm adventures, trade tips, celebrate their wins.
It'd be like a giant vision board for the whole Capsulora community, sparking new ideas and encouraging people to push their boundaries.
Okay, before we jump ahead, there's one more thing from Future You I want to touch on, the values map. The article reminds us that our values can change over time, and we need to be mindful of that.
It's so important. What matters most to you in your 20s might look totally different in your 40s or 60s. Life experiences, relationships, even world events, they can all shape your values.
It's true. When you're younger, maybe career success is everything. But as you get older, things like family, community, making a difference, those might become more important.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong. It's about recognizing that we're always evolving. And a values map helps us track that evolution, make sure we're living in alignment with what we truly believe.
So how can we actually use a values map in the whole legacy building process?
One idea from future you is to write down your current values and put them in a time capsule. What matters most to you now? What principles guide your decisions? What do you hope to stand for?
I love that. It's like capturing your moral compass at this point in time. And when you open that capsule later on, you can see how your values have evolved, what's stayed the same, and what's shifted.
It's a powerful way to connect with your future self and make sure you're living a life that feels authentic and meaningful.
Now, I don't want to get too far ahead, but future you also mentioned the importance of financial planning in building a secure legacy. It can feel daunting, but it's something we can't ignore.
You're right, it is important. It's about taking those practical steps to secure your future and create a strong base for the legacy you want to build.
So for our listeners who are maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, like where do I even start? What are some concrete steps they can take?
Future you suggests starting with a basic budget. Track your income and expenses. See where you can save. Create a plan for managing your money.
And don't be afraid to reach out to a professional. Financial advisors, they can help you make a personalized plan based on your specific goals and situation.
It's like having a personal trainer, but for your finances. They give you expert advice, help you with those tough decisions, and hold you accountable.
Let's bring this back to Capsulora for a minute. I'm really excited about how this platform can help people build their legacies.
Me too. I think we can go beyond just giving people the tools to create time capsules. We can build a community where people feel empowered to share their stories, support each other, learn from experts in different fields.
Imagine workshops on financial planning, goal setting, storytelling, even digital memory banks, connecting members with mentors and resources that fit their goals.
And think about the potential for collaboration. What if we had group time capsules where people contribute items that represent a shared experience or milestone? It would be an incredible way to strengthen the community and build a collective legacy.
That is such a cool idea. It's all about making a bigger impact by working together.
Now, as we move into the final part of this deep dive, let's keep in mind that legacy isn't just about what we leave behind for other people.
It's also about how we live our lives right now, making choices that reflect our values, trying to make a positive impact every day.
Exactly. It's not about waiting until you're gone to make your mark. It's about living a life that feels meaningful and purposeful today.
And that brings us back to Capsulora's slogan, for what matters most. It's a call to action, to live intentionally, focus on what truly matters, make each moment count. Okay, so we've talked about all these big ideas, legacy, goal setting. How do we actually put it all into practice?
Well, first things first, if you haven't already, start making your own time capsule. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, even a shoebox or a folder on your computer works.
I think for a lot of people, getting started is the hardest part. A time capsule can feel like this big empty space, and it's like, where do you even begin?
That Atmosphere Press article had a good suggestion. Start with a letter to your future self. Just write about your current goals, what you're dreaming about, the challenges you're facing. It's like you're having a conversation across time.
Yeah, like sending a message to the future. And it doesn't have to be all serious,
Yeah.
Imagine your future self reading about what you're obsessed with right now or what's making you anxious. They'd probably get a good laugh.
Exactly. Just be honest, be specific, don't hold back. Your future self will appreciate it. And if you're more of a visual person, you could put in a snapshot of your vision board or some pictures that represent your goals.
It's like you're creating a physical embodiment of your dreams, something you can look at and remember what you're working towards. When I was a kid, I used to make these collages with pictures from magazines, all the places I wanted to travel. It's crazy how many of those dreams I actually got to experience.
There's definitely power in visualization. And remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. Use whatever speaks to you, magazine clippings, photos, drawings, whatever. What matters is that you're putting your heart into it.
Now, we've talked about the physical stuff, but what about digital time capsules? We're making so many memories on our phones and computers. How do we preserve those and build a digital legacy?
Future You had a great idea about that, creating a digital memory bank. There are platforms like Google Photos, Time Hop, or even just a folder on your computer.
It's like a curated scrapbook, but digital. Organize your pictures into albums, add captions, dates. You could even include voice memos or video messages. It's a way to keep those memories safe and make sure they don't get lost in the digital noise.
And think about future generations. Imagine your grandkids being able to see videos of you, hear your voice, learn about your life through this digital archive. It's a way to connect across generations.
That's amazingly leaving behind a digital treasure chest for your family. We've been talking about individual legacies, but what about the role of community in all of this? I think Capsulora has huge potential to become a space for shared legacies.
I totally agree. Imagine a platform where people can connect with each other, share ideas, collaborate on legacy projects. You could have forums for brainstorming time capsule ideas, bucket list items, anything that gets people talking and feeling connected.
Love that. It's about creating a supportive space where people can learn and grow on their own journeys, but also contribute to something bigger than themselves.
And what if we had challenges or contests, something like, what one thing would you put in a time capsule to represent who you are right now? Or what small step can you take today to start building your legacy?
Those are awesome ideas. It would really make people think about their values, their goals, what they want to leave behind. And we could share the best responses on social media, spread the inspiration even further.
Speaking of social media, got to remind our listeners where to find us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, always posting new content and chatting with our awesome community.
So come join the fun. We want to hear your thoughts, your ideas, everything. Capsulora is all about building a community around these important themes: preservation, self-discovery, making a meaningful impact on the world.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, remember that building a legacy isn't about being perfect or reaching some finish line.
It's a journey, a process of always learning and growing. And it's never too late to start.
Exactly. Whether you're just starting to think about your legacy or you've been working on it for years, there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more ways to connect with people who share your passion.
And on that note, a big thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into legacy and goal setting. Hope you found it insightful, inspiring, maybe even a little bit thought-provoking.
Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on social media. We're always cooking up new content and finding new ways to engage with our amazing community.
Until next time, remember Capsulora. For what matters most,